Well, a very good evening from the home address on cup of tea time. It's Sunday the 23rd of April 23. Yeah, 23, 4:23. I just had an inclination that moon was sitting out. I knew there was a change in the weather, but I just felt that moon sitting out there. And I went out so I didn't see it through the glass, and there it was, sitting very proudly in the northwest sky with Venus not far below it. Very beautiful. One of those smiley moons, smiley new moons. So that's the moon. We're going from Taurus into, well, Gemini, isn't it? Into Cancer, then travelling through the signs. It'll be a full moon in Scorpio this time. Not so good, eh? Don't like scorpions. I dated a scorpion. Yeah. It is surprising just how cold it is for April, though. I have to say it's exceptionally cold for. I mean, I've got the fire on, and I can tell you that many times in April, once April came around, that was a fire sort of. Well, unless it was particularly chilly or damp, it was never on. There's certainly a need for it this evening. So I'm just relaxing, listening to the Gaelic church service from the Western Isles. I think it's a repeat from the morning service, of course, but and I didn't tell you, but, well, I did make a little video, but I didn't load it. But I actually got to Amalree Kirk service last Sunday, the 16th. It was delightful, I must say. It was absolutely wonderful to be in the congregation, and the minister approached afterwards, and one of the ladies and said, "Would you like to stay for some tea?" I said, no, I'm going to shoot off. And I stepped out the doorway, and I thought, oh, that's very rude. The first time I've been in the church service and they've been offered tea. That's really rude, Andrew. Get back in there. So I did. Made my apologies and said, look, I will have some tea, but no cake or biscuits, please. Just some tea. I'm rather shy that way. I have to say, I'm quite shy when it comes to nibbling on cake in public. Never used to be. Don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, actually. I think there's something must have occurred. I'm not sure what it is. I wasn't very keen even in eating in an office environment either. I think that's where it came from, actually, because I used to eat all right in public, and then I started to just munch on a banana or something. I don't know what it was. I can't say, honestly, I can't. But, I've always been quite a private chap, actually. When I think about it, I've always been fairly reserved in company. As I say, I'm never lonely when I'm on my own, but I'm often lonely when I'm in company. It's very strange. Although I like mixing with people, and I like meeting new people particularly. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed, remember telling you about Kitty up in Tom and Tal. I thoroughly enjoyed that encounter. It was a real delight. And in fact, when I think back over the last several months or more, it's not been too bad, actually. I've met a lot of very, very nice people, actually. I have to maybe try and do a little bit of more, you know, swapping numbers and email addresses and stuff like that, instead of just saying ta-ta. And, perhaps broaden my horizons once more and start to meet new people and members of the opposite sex. I think that's probably what I need to be doing. Less YouTubing and more frolicking. I think that's probably the answer. I mean, I do like putting up my YouTube loads, but they are particularly time consuming, and I dare say that as the nights start to really extend, I can't really see me spending an awful lot of time indoors, to be perfectly honest. It's far too much to do, far too much out there for available in the short days of daylight we actually get in this country, you know what I mean? I said already there was, now we're only what, 7 or 8 weeks now until the summer solstice. It's not terribly long. I have to say that tea is absolutely delicious, Andrew. It really is. It's very nice. I think you're quite tired, son. I think you've done quite a bit over the last few weeks and months in your life. I think you've, well, I just had a quick check there. There's almost 480 separate videos on my YouTube channel. Perhaps if I get to 500, I might just stop and give it a rest for a while. I mean, most of these have actually been loaded in the last 7 months, I think. I think about 300 of these videos have been posted just since last August, I'm sure. It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of work involved, but it's been very good keeping me busy over the evenings in the winter and stuff, you know. There's so much camera dialogues which were never loaded, unfortunately. Probably just as well. But yeah, it's trying to get the correct balance between some woodland walks and some high-level walks, and obviously trying to get a hand on the chores that I have to, like everybody, have to complete on a day-to-day or weekly basis. I've got no plans at the moment, but I think I might go up to Ben Alder again. I think I'll wait for the next promise of 2 to 3 dry days together and try and make a good old attempt. I think, I mean, it's not bad, you know, for walking in, but I wouldn't like to be walking this evening towards Ben Alder Cottage for some reason, because I think that the wind's coming from that northerly direction, I'm sure, at least in the north end. It's very bitter, high level country, and I just don't fancy this, another episode of, well, it was quite frightening. I have been contacted, I'm not going to say too much actually, but someone got in touch with me after a considerable amount of time. I'd actually forgotten all about it, but they've come back to me and, well, let me just not say too much now, Andrew. Let's keep that on ice. Mm-hmm. But it's very nice just to sit here and think about the past few weeks and months that have gone. It's just nice to relax. Hi there. Good afternoon. It's the 16th of April 23. Yeah, that's Amalree Kirk. And the gates are open and the cars are parked up. So there's a church service at 2:15. It's 10 past now. So I'm going to mosey in. People will be smiling at me already, thinking, who's this chap? But I thought I'd go and, give thanks to the good Lord in one of his fine buildings. So I've come up to Amalree Kirk. I don't know how long the service will last, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to have prayer and song and listen to some Bible speech. I'll speak to you later on. Well, there we go. There's proof of my visit to the Amalree Kirk Church of Scotland service today. I'll tell you what was pretty good was there's actually 4 hymns. So 1 hour service, well, it usually is anyway, but it was a very quick hour, and well, being a Church of Scotland member, I sort of know protocol anyway in these services, so that was pretty good. And but I was quite surprised that they sang 4 hymns. That to me was unusual. It was very good. It was very interesting, and I had a sermon that was quite interesting by the minister, and obviously the readings. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and of course there was tea and cake and coffee and that served afterwards, and I declined a cup of tea. I said, no, I'm all right for tea. And then I was halfway out the door and I thought, well, that's very rude, Andrew. The first time you've been in the church and you're refusing a cup of tea and meeting people. So I came back and I'd obviously left money for the collection, because there's no collection plate anymore. It was done away with during the COVID crisis. There's never returned to doing the collection plate, which, well, I think if we've all been in a situation in a church where funds are not great and you have to kid on, you're putting in more than you actually have, it's a bit usually a bit guilt-ridden for the rest of the Sunday. And then there's these people that put in envelopes. You never know how much is in the envelope. That was the way it used to be in my churches when I grew up, at least. And of course I was at St Andrew's Church in Crieff, formerly known as the North Church, but it was St Andrew's Church, the big pointy one, and it's no longer a church for congregation. It's still used as the church hall's still used, and the church itself, all the pews were removed, and it's now, well, doubles up as a polling booth, polling station in election times. It's just not very good, is it? But I had a lot of fond days of St Andrew's Church, and even at 12-year-old I can remember standing in front of a congregation reading a sermon. I do remember this very clearly. And I remember glancing up to the upper levels, and the general manager, the director, actually, one of the directors of Crieff Hydro, John Leckie, a very nice man. Very strong Christian beliefs, and he looked down. He was always a very stern type man, but he was very soft-hearted, actually. But he looked down with great admiration when listened to me, my very young, youthful voice, doing my best without shaking in my throat. I stood up in congregations quite a bit, actually. I also stood up when my mother and father renewed their vows. 40 years from their, the Ruby anniversary, they decided to renew their vows, and so they did this. It was a lovely day, and I done a lovely speech. And I've done speeches at funerals and stuff as well. But, so anyway, I got a cup of tea, and I knew this would be an invitation for the minister to come over, which he did. And I suppose in a way I was rather pleased, because he came over to have some gentle chit-chat. And he was most pleased that I'd come all the way up from the village to attend his church sermon, and he asked a couple of questions, but I didn't know the answers to what he was talking about. Nothing to do with religion, but and I told him about, well, when you're up in the mountains, I said, you put a lot of faith in God. He says, the Bible's full of sermons from the up mountains, and I said, I know. Then a dear, charming lady came over. She says, hello there, how are you? I says, I'm very well, thank you. You? She says, yes. Very nice to see a new face. I says, well, yeah, I was going to come up in March, but I missed the third Sunday in the month. And I missed it. So dear. So she spoke, in my opinion, she spoke exactly the way Up and Down would have spoken if she hadn't ended up mucking around with fake friends and becoming proletariat in her life. Yeah, so she'd continued in the fine elocution that she had, and the very well spoken, very, very bright and well spoken girl. But unfortunately, once she started mucking around with fake friends and other proletariats, she just became very manly in her speech, very rough and terrible, very unattractive in my opinion, very unattractive. But so I was chatting with the lady and the minister. We had a bit of a good old chinwag actually, and then I was a little nervous and hesitant about bringing up any particular subjects in case they mocked me for being a fool. But when the conversation started to flow, I was able to input some very interesting pieces myself, and my brain's gone all faded. And then, of course, by the time I'd finished talking, they realised I wasn't an idiot. So that was quite reassuring, wasn't it? I think it's one of the problems with any establishment in the country is because of the class system. But I very much think that this is a problem that is associated with, the church was always traditionally, there's many tiers and levels, and if you weren't matching up to one of those tiers or levels, you then became, rather disorientated with the whole affair, and you felt inferior in some respects, and so you decided not to go back because of this. I think this is a problem. And I've worked in environments where, working for large multinational companies and stuff, and they have the tier system built in as well, and if you don't fit in a certain tier or level, then you find it very difficult to move up the scale. If your face doesn't fit, you're not welcome. That kind of carry on. Prevents you from promotion, and prevents you from excelling in your chosen abilities in a particular field that you are an expert in. Yes, there's a big problem that still exists. It only exists in Great Britain, unfortunately. Well, the United Kingdom. It doesn't exist anywhere else, unless it's got some connection to the United Kingdom. It doesn't matter if it's the military or the church or if it's the, businesses. It's all the same, isn't it?